Hey gang, today I wanted to do a video on self-managed super fund and how I used it to buy an investment property and some of the things that I learned. Now of course, this is not financial advice. If you want to do this, the first person you should speak with is a financial planner or an accountant. But what I want to show is just the things you have to do to make it all happen. So number one is you've got to set up an SMSF. This is done from an accountant or financial planner. Then you're going to review the deed and the investment strategy to make sure that you can in fact get a loan from it. Again, there's a lot of jargon and it'll be better explained from a financial planner, but in terms of a lending point of view, this is the things that we need. Then of course, I'm going to set up a bare trust. A bare trust, by the way, needs to be set up before you actually sign a contract. Now, how does it work in terms of getting a loan? And once I've got the investment property, who pays the loan and who pays the repairs and maintenance, and how does it all work out? As always, I think looking at visually is the best way to teach people. So let's just use me and my wife for argument's sake. We used to just pay our super into our superannuation. That was before we opened up our SMSF. So you have your standard contributions, but I was actually putting in more money because I knew I really wanted to buy through super over a decade ago because I saw a lot of my customers doing it and I thought, hey, that was smart. I want to do the same thing. So I was putting not only my standard contributions, but also extra contributions to get my super balance up higher, which enabled me to buy an investment property through super. So let's say for argument's sake, you're putting in 15 grand per year into super. Now on that, the max cap you can do at the moment is around $27,500. But for this example, let's just put 15 grand in. When you buy this investment property over here, okay, you're gonna need to get a bank loan. There aren't hundreds of banks doing these loans. I can probably count 3. Latrobe does them very well, First Mac in Liberty. So when I help my customers buy property through super, I'm going to usually go through those banks. A lot of the mainstream banks that you would recognize, NABs and ANZs, these guys aren't doing super fund loans anymore. Let's just use the example of buying a property for $1 million. If we buy this property over here for $1 million, you're going to be able to get an 80% LVR. Loan to value ratio, which in this circumstance is 800 grand. That would be the bank loan to buy the investment property. So out of your super, you're gonna have to pay the 20% deposit, which in this scenario would be $200,000 plus the fees, which would be approximately 50 grand because you're gonna have your stamp duties, but then of course, all the fees to set up your SMSF, bare trust and so on, to get all the advice, you'd need about 50 grand approximately to make it happen. So to buy a property for $1 million, we're gonna need approximately the 20% deposit, which in this circumstance was 200 grand, and the fees, which is about 50, you'll need about 250 grand to make it happen. Now, how does it all work? Well, first things first, your super fund will pay all the fees. So if you had a balance, for argument's sake, of 300 grand, well, I would need to minus 250 grand, meaning I would have 50 grand left over in my super fund. You don't want to have much left over in super than that when you buy property. Now, the super fund would buy this property. So the property ownership won't be Bob and Jane Smith, it'll be the trustee of the bare trust, which in essence is you anyway. Now, the self-managed super fund would go to the bank and would get a loan for the rest of the money, which in this circumstance is $800,000. Now, the 800 grand loan will be paid for by the super fund. So the repayments will be paid from the super fund. And of course, everything else associated with that property. For example, the repairs and maintenance, the rates, the water, you name it, everything to do with that property will be taken care of from the SMSF. The SMSF will still receive your standard contributions from your salary and if you are making any special contributions, but it also now will be getting rent. It'll be getting rent from your investment property. So you would hope that the rent and the standard contributions or extra contributions is enough to make the repayments for the mortgage. SMSF is a really cool vehicle to buy investment property. It can only be used to buy investment property, not to buy own occupier. So again, I just wanted to show you what's possible out there because you don't know what you don't know. Again, not financial planning advice. Go see an accountant or a lawyer. Hopefully you watched the video. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. As I always say, have a mad day.